In this session, we will turn to the subject of charters, choice, and private education for our video presentations for EDAD 707 Politics and Policy in Education. School choice and management of school services has been around for a number of years. By the mid-1990s, it was becoming apparent that technology and the dissatisfaction with the performance of American school children was opening the way for a private education market and more choice, including charters and vouchers. Private management of public schools was one of the later developments, but by the 2010s, technology platforms plus teaching and learning tools of all kinds were being developed by for-profit education companies. By 1996, private education providers earned over 50 billion in revenues, but this was less than 10% of the 650 billion being spent on American education. The education world, it seemed, was open for business. Public schools purchasing services such as cafeteria or bus services have been commonly viewed with no objection for decades. But now, the organizations that provide academic management, called EMOs, or Education Management Organizations, are controversial. They are usually hired by the public school system and receive public funds. This makes them competitive with charters. EMOs are not to be confused with independent or private schools to which families pay tuition. Some of the reasons leading to the acceleration of the trend for EMOs have included the perceived failure of public schools, the belief that the private sector knows better how to manage organizations, the growth of other for-profit services to schools under No Child Left Behind, and the growth in strength of conservative policy influences on education. Many people oppose the privatization of public schools and public school services. Opposition is often led by education unions. Privatized schools are also accused by opponents of not only achieving lower student performance and ignoring equity issues, but also being more open to corruption, providing less accountability to public officials. Their opponents say that by using EMOs, the school system is also taking away funds that are badly needed. Finally, opponents of private school market also accuse EMOs of being more concerned with profits than children. EMO proponents claim that to be able to run schools more efficiently and effectively, they also claim to bring competition to the public school marketplace by offering alternatives. Hence, charter schools are competitive with EMOs for public funds. As of 2010, there were almost 40 for-profit EMOs nationwide and almost 200 that were nonprofit. EMOs can be found in 33 states, operating nearly 2,000 schools and serving approximately 800,000 students. The free choice movement, like EMOs, is an alternative to traditional schools. Milton Friedman, produced an economist, introduced this concept in the 1950s. The choice theory is that markets will give parents more choice in where to send their children and thereby increase competition among schools. Choice advocates believe that competition will force schools to improve in response to the marketplace. School choice, such as charters and vouchers, has been encouraged by the Bush and Obama administration. Recent court rulings have also allowed parents to use their voucher funds in private and parochial schools. Choice has become a major component of education policy on all three levels of government. Do schools really change in response to competition from non-traditional schools? Charter schools are accused of not changing operations and achievement substantially, but rather they just run better marketing campaigns. In some cities, there's also evidence that charters, using marketing, simply cream off the best students. Furthermore, because comparing achievements from one school to the next is difficult, school choice is often marketed by symbols, by what represent, and not by students and what they represent, not by student achievement. Some scholars contend that many charter schools and EMOs just market their names, such as Noble and Edison schools, and new images, but they're not substantially better than traditional schools. In defense of charter schools and EMOs, other choice options, we must recognize that they are trying to deliver change in what is all too often a traditional system. Caught in the education institution environment, even entrepreneurs can find it hard to break out with completely new approaches to teaching and learning. For example, charter schools, whether managed by EMOs or not, vary from state to state in their percentage of low income and minority students, the same as their traditional public school competitors. Variables that most affect minority enrollment include a state's charter policies on funding and regulatory burdens, again, just like traditional schools.